Hello students, this is Manoj Ekka. Today we will read the poem Ode to Autumn by John Keats. Before that, I request you please do subscribe my channel and don't forget to press the like button. Let's begin with the life sketch of poet John Keats. He was one of the chief romantic poets. He was born on 31st October 1795 and died on 23rd February 1821, and he died of tuberculosis. He was born at Moorgate in London and he died in Rome in Italy. His father was Thomas Keats and his mother Frances Jennings. He was very much interested in writing. His first volume of poetry, entitled Poems, published in 1817. Another poem, Endymion, was very much appreciated by Wordsworth. Before we start the poem, we need to know the meaning of ode. An ode is a type of lyrical stanza. It is an elaborately structured poem praising or glorifying an event or individual, describing nature intellectually as well as emotionally. And this is what we'll find that John Keats has done in this poem. So, ode is a kind of poem that is intended to be sung. However, he not only wrote this ode, but also his other odes are Ode to Grecian Urn, Ode to a Nightingale, etc. This poem, Ode to Autumn, was composed on 19 September 1819 and was published in 1820. Now we'll see the theme. What theme we have in this poem? In this poem, John Keats describes the three stages of autumn. First, you see maturation of crops to the harvest. Okay, that is the cutting of the crops. And second, to the last days of autumn, means how the autumn is ending, towards the end it has reached, and the coming of winter as it is approaching nearer and nearer. However, we need to notice that everybody writes ode to springs, but who writes ode to autumn? As mostly all are fond of spring season. Now let's go to the text of the poem. Seasons of mists and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless with fruit the vines that round the thatch eaves run. The poet says that autumn is a season of mists and mellow fruitfulness. Summer is just coming to an end, and now everything during the summer that had to bloom and bear fruits, that has done. And so now the weather is becoming misty because you can see a mellow fruitfulness around the world. That means the fruits are already grown up or already matured, ready to be eaten. And autumn is a close bosom friend of the maturing sun, as the sun is coming to the yearly cycle in which it will be away from the earth, and then winter will creep in and days will become very cold and shorter than the summer season, and therefore it is said autumn is a very close friend of the maturing sun. Conspiring with him, that is, now the season and the sun are conspiring with each other. So conspiring means they are planning to act secretly to deceit, okay, and how to load and bless with fruit the vines that round the thatch eaves run. Here thatch eaves means the edge of a roof that is made of dried straw. So this line means that the season and the sun are planning. What they're planning? That how they are going to fill the vine plant with full of grapes, as this plant keeps growing up on the thatch eaves, because the season is at the verge of its end. So this season is coming to an end. So when it comes again, it will take one yearly cycle. So 1 year it will take to come back to that season. So we can see that conspiracy of the sun and the season is for the good of the plants. According to them, they want to give fruits as much as possible. Then the poet goes on to say, to bend with apples the most cottage trees. Here most means become covered with moss. The moss is a tiny leaves that is green like grass that covers the trunk of trees. And cottage is a meaning is small. So meaning is here is that the small apple trees will be filled with apples. They want to bend the trees by the weight of the fruits, so much so that the trees look blessed, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core. This is another line, which means make the fruits really ripe and juicy and tasty, and just fill it with all these qualities, because the season is going to get over and there will be no longer fruits as the winter starts. See the next line. To swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells. The gourd, let's swell them. That's what they say. Let's make their size bigger and attractive. So here the gourd here can be bottle gourd, ridge gourd, and even bitter gourd. And then he is saying that yellowish brown color shell, that is the plump, so that should be sufficiently fat they want to make so as to look attractive. The yellowish brown color shells should also they want to make sufficiently fat and thick to look attractive with a sweet kernel. So kernel is something inside part of seed or a nut. Then he goes on to say to set budding more and still more. So that budding, the beginning stage of a flower, okay, that later blooms and become a flower. For whom? That for the bees. So the poet says that the season and the sun are conspiring to produce more flowers for the bees until they think warm days will never cease. That is, till the warm days will never get over. For summer has overbrimmed their clammy cells. This is another line. That means that these bees are going to produce honey, and there is clammy cells which is very sticky and are hot. And then the bees starts to believe that summer days are not going to get over, because summer has overbrimmed, produced full of honey in their clammy cells. Now let's see the second stanza. In this stanza, the poet is covering all the metaphors attached to autumn. Here metaphor means what? Figure of speech in which an expression is used to refer to something that it does not literally denotes in order to suggest a similarity. All the signs attached to autumn, all are happening, all the activities of autumn, all these things he covers in second stanza. See the next line. Who hath not seen thee oft amid thy store? Means who has not seen you often amid your store. That means where grains are gathered or kept. Second line. Sometimes whoever seeks abroad may find thee sitting careless on a granary floor. So he is saying that you can find autumn on a granary floor. This is a season the winnowing of grain takes place. They take out rice from paddy. They use fan to blow away the skin of the grains. All these activities take place in autumn. So it is said that autumn is sitting careless on a granary floor. Next line. Thy hair soft lifted by the winnowing wind, or on a half-reed furrow sound asleep. This is same like that of previous line, that it is we have seen the farmers winnowing the paddy by the use of fan. So when the skin of the paddy are blown away, those skin of grain, the poet compares them like soft hair of autumn. The next line. Or on a half-reaped furrow sound asleep. This season is also when farmers are reaping what they have produced, and they have half work done and relaxing for a while. Next line. And drowsed with the fume of poppies while thy hook. It means you think that you are drunk with the flowers that grow in summer, and it has very intoxicating fragrance. One feels drowsy and feels sleepy on the half-reaped furrow. Next line. Spares the next swath and all its twinned flowers. It means you leave the work that is cutting off crops. So as you cut crops, you have to follow the line. In a line you have to cut, isn't it? You cannot cut here and there. And once the work is half done, you can see the line of crops that is left. That your line, which line you were following and cutting, that work which is not done, that is left. So that's what the poet means by saying spares the next swath and all its twinned flowers. The next line. And sometimes like a gleaner that drops keeps. That means he says that you also keep like the worker who carries the crops on his or her head to the place where crops are to be kept. Next line. Steady thy laden head across a brook or by a cedar press with patient look. Here it refers to gleaner means one who carries the crops on his or her head, and if he or she has to cross the stream, then they need to be steady so they don't fall. The crops they don't fall. And you are sitting at the cider press where apples are pressed inside to produce juice. The next line. Thou watchest the last oozings hours by hours. So he is saying that maybe you are sitting there and watching. This is the last seasons and last oozings, hours by hours. The apples are taken to the cider press to produce juice. This, and you are seeing that. The poet says every season has its beauty or qualities. So why not we look at autumn with optimistic point of view rather than looking at it in depressed look. Now let's go to the third stanza. See the line. Where are the songs of spring? Ay, where are they? The poet is asking where are the songs that usually sung in the springs. Next line. Think not of them, then hast thy music too, while bare. So bare means blocked. Clouds bloom the soft dying day and touch the subtle plains with rosy hue. So it means the poet tells not to think of those songs of springs because you have your own music. That means the autumn has its own music. That's what the poet says. As the sun sets, the clouds come up in the sky like that of blooming flowers, and the light of the sun falls on the subtle plains. Here, subtle plains means the land where all the crops have been reaped or cut. So, on that land, you tend to see that they are covered with rosy hue. So rosy hue means the red light of the dying sun. The next line. Then in a willful choir the small grants mourn, we still hear the sorrowful sound of the small insect in the summer night. Next line. Among the river shallows borne aloof or sinking as the light wind leaps or dies. Now, these knots are so light that as the wind rises, the insects rise, and as the wind dies, then the insects goes down with its sound. So, these knots are making sound, and they are borne aloft and sink as they sink as the light wind lifts or dies. See the next line. And full grown lambs loud bleat from hilly bourne, hedge crickets sing, and now with treble soft. The red breast whistles from a garden cropped, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies. So the poet ends by talking about the animals and birds that you listen to during the autumn season. The full-grown lambs, they bleat loudly from the hilly small stream, and you can hear crickets singing softly. And also the redbreast, a kind of bird, whistles from a small place used as a kitchen garden. And gathering swallows, that is swallows are birds, okay, make cheeping sound in the skies. So this is John Keats' beautiful Ode to Autumn. Let's summarize what we studied in a nutshell. The first stanza speaks about how the autumn comprises with the sun and tries to give as much ripeness to every fruit as possible. And in the second stanza, he speaks about all the scenes that associates autumn with. So the poet speaks about the granary floor, the apple cider press, and speaks about the half-reaped furrows, and a gleaner who carries produced crops to a storage place. And finally, all the animals and the birds of the trees that you see in this season, and he has done it in such a beautiful aesthetic manner. So he has proved that autumn is not a season where we need to bring to mind depression. He says autumn has its own song to play. It is unique in its nature, and it gives a lot of reasons to be cheerful in this season. Thank you.